Oh, yeah. I'll have to change it for next time. I try to come prepared. Oh, just recently? Okay. I will fix that for next time.
Okay, if everybody will go ahead and find a seat, we'll get started. Hey, call the meeting to order. We'll start it with roll call.
Commissioner Allen?
Present.
Commissioner Norwood?
Here.
Commissioner Zell?
Here.
Commissioner Waddell?
Here.
Commissioner Stallings?
Here.
Commissioner Funk?
Here.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Here. Okay, item number 2 at the commissioner's request, discuss any item of concern on the rescheduled regular session agenda of March 2nd, 2020. Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item number 3, study items. 3.1, Enid Sports Association Soccer Complex update.
Yes, we have Mark Allen here. He's going to present for the Enid Sports Association. So.
Can I take this off the top? Oh, good. I don't know if I could do this for a whole hour with that. First of all, thank you so much for having me this evening. We thought what I would do, and I know all of you know about the soccer complex, and so it's not a foreign idea. But I really thought what I would do is in, and let's call this an hour discussion. Might be sooner than that, but maybe for the first 15 or 20 minutes, I want to give you a little bit of background and history of the project and how we got to this room today. Then the next 30 minutes, we have some slides that will be the actual field, the clubhouse, and the complex itself, and the shape that it will take. We have several members of the board of Enid Sports Association, which has been working on the project. We have the architect and the consultant here today to answer questions. And then that would leave 10 minutes of questions and answers, if there are any, at the end of that time. So let me start out by talking to you about the project and how we even got here in the first place. As most of you know, my father and a gentleman named Dave McLaughlin in 1973 started a company called Advanced Meat Company. They did it by purchasing an existing business that was on Main and Van Buren. Paul and Dave worked diligently for a long time, for over 20 years until the siblings, me included, joined the company, my brother Greg and two McLaughlin sons, and the six of us then worked to then create Advanced Food Company, which had a series of expansions, acquisitions, and lucky breaks, and a lot of hard work from a lot of citizens here in Enid to create the company that we eventually sold in 2010. We're very, very thankful to the city of Enid and the community for all their support over all these years. And for us to have the success we did, we could have never done it without those work employees and without the city of Enid right next to us. So we've always looked at ways to give back, to say thank you for all the years of work and service that we did together in partnership. And 2 years ago, the Enid Soccer Club was visiting Oklahoma City and playing in a tournament. And a mother, Jessica Nelson, who happened to work for Enid Public Schools, ran across Tim McLaughlin, one of the McLaughlin sons, and started talking soccer. And she started saying that the families in Enid typically had to travel every weekend to play in tournaments, that the current fields and conditions in Enid was merely a glorified floodplain, and that there was, by the way, 800 youth signed up to play soccer in Enid and no place to play. And Tim McLaughlin, who was, by the way, an owner of the Oklahoma City Energy soccer team, really took this to heart, and he called me. and he said, you know, Mark, I think we have an opportunity here. So we came up to the city, to Enid. We looked around. We talked to Jessica and some of the other people who were interested, and including Bill Mayberry, who was the Enid high school athletic director at the time. And we said, boy, this makes a lot of sense. We can all actually mirror the David Allen Memorial Ballpark and use that for a blueprint, except for a soccer complex. So our next step was to approach Gerald Gilbert, city manager, and lay out the plan and discuss ways of funding the construction of the complex. And we arrived at a agreement that essentially was a one-to-one match. The Allen and McLaughlin family would donate $3 million and the city of Enid would contribute the same, which would then create a $6 million project, which I thought, boy, we're going to be able to do an awful lot with that. This became the city-owned private-public partnership agreement, much like the David Allen Memorial Ballpark. The purpose of the project was to create a first-class facility for not only the soccer community, but for Enid community as a whole. We've seen what the David Allen Ballpark can do for the pride of Enid. We see the crowds that turn out, and we thought that a soccer complex would give yet another point of civic pride for the city of Enid. And finally, the economics cannot be understated. What the David Allen Ballpark does economically for the city of Enid, the soccer complex should be able to do 3, maybe 4 times as much. And the best part is that families from Enid don't have to leave. They can stay right here. So those became the 3 pillars. It's a safe place, provides a great path for the youth in the city of Enid. It's a civic pride point for Enid, and it's an economic driver for Enid. Those became the 3 pillars and the purpose for the project. So as I mentioned, the Allens McLaughlins, $3 million, the city of Enid, $3 million, and our public-private program. And we created, I say we, the Allens McLaughlins created a nonprofit organization called Enid Sports Association, 501c3, which would be able to accept donations on a charitable basis. And the purpose is to create a sports complex in the city of Enid, Oklahoma, to benefit the community. We established all that and then turned the process to the site selection. And Jessica Nelson and Mike Struck were very instrumental in helping us find a spot. I'm already, one of the things about me, I'm a salesperson. I just talk a lot. And so I'll try to keep this down. We looked at a number of sites. We talked to Dr. Floyd, Gerald Gilbert, tried to involve as many people as possible, pick the site that made the most sense. And we ended up at Garland and Root in the west part of town. Complex name became very emotional for the Allen McLaughlin families. Advanced Food Company for us wasn't just business, it was us. It was any of you that know my father understand the fabric that the company wove within him. And as Tyson moves forward, we'll see less Advance and more Tyson. So the name, the Advanced Soccer Complex, made a lot of sense. I worked with the executives, the lawyers at Tyson, and we were able to use the name and the logo in an appropriate way. And you can now see that displayed proudly on a large sign at the corner of Garland and Root announcing the Advanced Soccer Complex. We selected a team, which is Olson Engineering out of Tulsa, to do the site engineering, Corbin and Mertz here locally to do the architecture work. Ken Corbin was instrumental in the David Allen Ballpark, and Green Spring Solutions Consulting for the overall project. The owner of Green Spring Solutions, his name is Rennie Turner. He's worked on many projects with me in the past, and I knew that he would be the perfect man for this project. We then solicited a lot of groups here in Enid, such as the Enid Soccer Club, the coaches, Enid Public School and coaches, NOC, the YMCA, soliciting a lot of input to find out what was important to the complex so that we could satisfy the needs of not only the community, but of the soccer playing groups also. The engineering for the site was completed last year. Well, we're still working on a few things, but for the most part, it was completed last year. And Ken Corbin has created a site plan that we'll show you tonight. We started in earnest raising money for the capital because, as all construction projects are, we naturally, if you're at 6, that means 12, right? And that's a little bit where we were able to back that down to a public number of 9.5, but probably, if truth be told, we'll end up at about 10.5. Our campaign fundraisers are Nicole Winfield, who has a business here, a marketing business here, and we hired her as a consultant to help us. And of course, my father, Paul Allen, who is very instrumental in the relationship side of raising the money. So the work to date that we've done is we've graded all the fields, we've planted all the sods on 6 of the 7 large fields. The 7th field will be all-weather turf, and we will complete that in the next year. We have identified all the field lighting. We're running all the lighting lines so that the entire field can be lit. We've identified the city's put in the stormwater and water retention areas, utilities, sewer work, and of course, you all know the road work has started. And I was out there today; it looks awesome. The physical assets will be the 7 fields, the lighting, a press box, stadium seating, a clubhouse of 24,000 square feet containing locker rooms, concessions, offices, and restrooms. We'll have an indoor futsal multipurpose field that could provide for 5-on-5 soccer or could even entertain a birthday party if you wanted to. We'll have 3 small practice fields for young children or warm-up areas. We'll feature a playground, and finally a water feature area that we will define later. Well, you'll see in the presentation. We've hired a full-time maintenance director, David Mueller, who was our chief engineer at our Philly steak plant when we were Advanced Food Company. And David is a terrific person, terrific worker, and we expect him to be on site full-time beginning May 1st when the grass really starts growing, and hopefully he'll be there for the next 25 years. So that brings us to where we are today. We had I don't know which number of board meeting it is for Enid Sports Association, but we had our board meeting today, and today's really kind of a really nice pivot point because engineering's completed, the concepts are all done. Ken and his architect firm will be working on the drawings. We hope to have that in about 6 or 8 weeks. We can go out to bid, select the construction manager, and then in June, we can put our shovel in the ground and really get going. Like I said, 6 of the fields are already leveled and sodded. And of course, you all done a tremendous amount of work underneath the ground to prepare the site. Just so that I don't forget, the Enid Sports Association board members are as follows. Claire Neal, my daughter, my oldest daughter, is president. Mike Stinky is vice president. John McNaught, a longtime Enid resident, now works for the McLaughlin family as the secretary. Pat Donahue, who used to be branch manager here at BKD, is their treasurer. Enid community members Seth Jenkins, Mark Feitner, Marcy Jarrett, Bob Barry, Craig Liddell, high school soccer coach, Scott Morris, here with the city, Michael Chuck, and then Mark Allen and Tim McLaughlin serve as advisors. So that's the history and how we got to this point. I can stop here if you have any questions. Otherwise, we can move to the fun part, the illustration part, and I will describe to you the concepts and what we've come up with. Rennie Turner from Green Spring Solutions is here for any technical questions and you don't have to get too technical for me. I can't handle, but he can give you some whys and whereases on that.
I think we're ready. Go ahead, sir.
All right. So the first, we're going to look at, I don't know, maybe about 8 or 9 slides. So this would be an aerial view of Garland and Root. And this would be the complex itself. And if maybe all of you all, but I just came from out there this afternoon. This place is huge. I have no idea. It's overwhelming. But the main entry will come into a circle roundabout off of Garland. There is that north access road on Garland. You see the 7 fields depicted. The championship field, which will be all-weather turf, will be right in the center behind the clubhouse structure. We'll have a press box there. This layout will accommodate the NJACC Division II National Championships. They have already sent us the bid package. That is the same group that has the baseball tournament at the David Allen. They are so impressed with the city of Enid that they would love to move their soccer championship here on an annual basis. So, so that's the layout. When coming up the center sidewalk on either side, the left or right, at the very front will be small practice fields. And then as you pass the first sidewalk step, that little curvy area is a water feature area. Past that, to the right is a green space, which could be picnic, lawn area. To the left is the third practice space. And then as you get towards the clubhouse, on the left-hand side or one side is a playground that would be fenced and enclosed. And then to the right would be the clubhouse. This is another aerial view coming from the west, looking east more with the lights. I'll talk about the lights a little bit later on as we get to the site plan. But again, just the same view. You see some shade structures that are strategically located in either the walking paths, the playground area, or the clubhouse. This would be a concept of what the entry area might be looking towards the championship field. Again, several architectural features that we would like to put in there. I didn't see any trees of that size out there right now, but it certainly would be something that we'd want to look at. And then landscaping with the retaining walls that you see on the left. Again, all ideas and concepts. Landscaping budget and the architectural features are all a product of the budget, which then becomes part of the fundraising. And that's still a little fluid right now. But this is the direction we would like to go. This is a shot of the main walkway going towards the clubhouse. And this is an older drawing that has the advanced soccer complex on the side. Because of a very generous gift by the Atwood family, the clubhouse will be named the Atwood Family Clubhouse. But you kind of get the idea of what the green space would look like there to the east of the clubhouse. This is an aerial view of the inside of the clubhouse. So to orient you, this is a north-south. So north is going straight up, south is coming straight down. And there is, I'm going to turn back just because I want you to. So that main sidewalk where the entry is from the roundabout, you have some brick walls and entry, much like the David Allen ballpark that you enter through. And then you go up that sidewalk to the clubhouse. And actually you make a right-hand turn to get into the clubhouse. So now let me advance back to this slide right here. That right-hand turn is there at the bottom of your screen in the middle. So that's a covered entry. Let's call it glass doors. And that is a north-south hallway that would go all the way from the middle to the north side of the field. Obviously, if you keep walking past, you end up at the championship field there at the west. The indoor, this is one structure under one roof. So to the right is the all-purpose futsal 5-on-5 soccer complex. Again, that the materials used for that we could do any indoor type of an event. It's very, very flexible surface. There might be a net or something that would allow people to view into the court, but obviously serve as a buffer or a wall. But it might be a net that goes across. And there to the left, so now moving to the west is really the clubhouse area. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So the bottom, so there's the center walkway. So now moving west. At the very bottom is the concession, an L-shaped concession area. And right going north of that is a corner office, which will be the information area, the check-in area. There's a glass wall there so that there's viewing of the indoor futsal and, like a sliding window so that people that are renting something, there'll be a person stage there, David Mueller, that can answer any questions. There's a hallway now going west. The hallway that goes west, first thing that you run across on the south side is another office, and that could be Enid Sports Association, could be used for concessions, a number of things. And then there's a little hallway that drops down south. That's for entrance into the concession area. And it's also the inside entrance to the two restrooms that are right to the west, the men's being the north and the women's being to the south. So there's entry into the restrooms from the interior. Obviously, if you keep walking down that hallway, you leave the clubhouse and you would be looking directly at the championship field. Okay, hopefully you're with me on everything. Okay, let's go north of that hallway. So directly north of that hallway at the door where you're looking at the championship field, there are 4 locker rooms. There's a small locker room, a larger locker room, a larger locker room, and a smaller locker room. And let's call this in order: visitors women, home men, visitors men. 4 locker rooms. So if Enid High School, if the Enid High School team is playing a soccer match, whether it be men's or women's, there would be a Enid High School soccer room, gender appropriate, and a visitor's locker room also. You notice that the home locker rooms are a little larger. That's because I graduated from Enid High School. So, right, Jerry?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so and there are entrances from the west into those locker rooms. You can see that, and there will be a brick facade in front of that. Today at the board meeting, Marcy Jarrett offered the thought that those could almost be billboards for the city of Enid, a map of the city of Enid, points of interest, something of that nature, so that as people are going into the locker rooms or the restrooms, there might be something there that we can tastefully do that promote the city of Enid. Okay, so let's go back to the concession area and let's go north of that. So the first room is a referee's lounge with a men's and women's restroom changing area. Directly north of that is a coach's lounge, men's and women's restroom. Directly north of that is kind of a rectangle area. You see 2 little boxes in there. That is a coach's workroom. Whereas if they're having tournaments and your team's not playing, coach wants to sit down, get out his laptop, wants to make out his lineup or something like that, it'll be an area that all coaches can go in and sit down in a conditioned environment and do his paperwork. North of that is a conference room, and I'm going to call it an all-purpose room, because one of the features that we're going to put in place is where the coach's workroom was. Those walls that separate the coach's workroom and the conference room will be retractable, thus creating a much larger indoor space. For instance, a YMCA program for youth during the summer. It could be a conference that the city of Enid wants to use, or again, multiple uses out of that. With the retractable walls, it gives us extra space, and it's very flexible. And the north of that is the MEP room with some outside storage, with a north door that makes storing equipment very accessible. The 2 little areas I left out is that so go back down to that perpendicular hallway that's going to the west. There's a little square there between the referees lounge and the visitor women's locker room, that is a training room. So if there's a need for training, you can come right in off the west or the south hallways and go right into that training area. And then just north of that is our AV equipment area. And that is right in the center of the complex, well protected, well conditioned, so that would be the space that all AV and sensitive equipment would be kept. Okay. Hopefully you followed all of that. I think we've covered all the bases. We've spent several months with a lot of people in Enid that have been to other tournaments. We've viewed other facilities, gotten a lot of great input from Rennie Turner, who's from Baltimore, Maryland, who has done 20 plus facilities now. We think we checked all the boxes here. Oh, Rennie, I'm going to tell him, you don't have to tell me. We're also going to build this in such a way that the roof will be load, am I saying this right? Load bearing, so that we can add a second floor at a future time if the city desires. And there's a lot of people, we got to that point because that was an initial ask, but we just had to pull back a little bit. But we're going to put in the structure, the footing such that we can get to that point with an elevator and stairs if we want to. We're being told that view will be spectacular up there, and that may be something that the city may want to consider down the road. Okay, that was the long one.
Yeah.
This is a picture. This is what we'd like to hope for at the front entry. Notice the red brick entrance. Again, very much like the David Allen Ballpark. Those plaques are donor plaques that are put in on the wall there. And little sign advanced soccer complex up above. This is the technical site plan. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we've done so, but I do want to point out a couple of issues here that I think the city council should think about and consider as we move forward. And that is this, the North Drive. Okay, so there's the roundabout where think about traffic flow, think about 1,500 fans on a weekend soccer tournament. Now, granted, we're talking about maybe this happening 12, 18 times a year, so it's not every day. But think about what's going to happen. People are going to come off Garriott. They're going to go south on Garland. They're going to get in the diesel lane. They're going to turn in. Okay, you've got a roundabout here, and cars are going to pull in and park. And by the way, you're going to have about 25 buses of kids, and they're going to be pulling in. They're going to be pulling in on the North Drive. You can see that we've allowed for drop-off, pickup and drop-off spots there for the buses on the north side. But obviously, the last thing we want to do is cause a lot of traffic congestion with all these kids running around. Okay, so ideally, a consideration is this. Do we want to make this a one-way option? You come in, you turn right, you have to keep going right and go. That means that what is depicted as a gravel road / parking on the far west maybe would require pavement. I don't know the answer to this. I'm trying to punch holes in this plan. And to me, one of my biggest concerns is traffic congestion. Yes, can we accommodate 1,500 people with the parking spots? We can, but it's going to be awfully crowded. So what we've done is we put all bus parking on the far west. That's a great first move. That takes all the buses out of play. That means that when the kids are finished playing, then they go north through the gates, they walk up the sidewalks and load into a bus. Perfect solution. But again, you're going to have a lot of traffic. You're going to have people leaving, coming, and you know, our engineers, everybody says that, no, this is a good plan. I'm just pointing out an opportunity there, because right now Roop is gravelled and that west drive is gravel.
Do you have space to the west to accommodate additional?
Okay, and that's a great question, Jeff. When we purchased the land 3 years ago at Garland and Roop, we purchased an entire tract, and that land is actually owned by the Allen family right now. The idea is when the complex is finished, that land will be deeded over to the city of Enid. And yes, Jeff, we have at least twice as much room on the west. I mean, it's the entire tract. And the plan is the Allen family will continue to keep that land so that we can control with the city the expansion of whether it's the complex, an elementary school. I don't know, but we're not going to sell that land because we want this project and the next 20 years to work in the best way of the community. So, Rennie, have I forgotten anything here? Let me see. The water feature, you know, we talked about splash pad there for kids. I get really excited thinking about that, and then I don't get so excited when I think about them slipping and falling. I think also that becomes a budget item. I mean, we've looked at water features that are $350,000. We've looked at them for $30,000. So, you know, we'll just see. But we do think something of interest, a point of interest right in that area would be very nice to have. There's a lot of land, by the way, between the roundabout and the field, where Garland is and the fields. There's a lot of land in there, because the idea is if the traffic flow becomes, that the traffic becomes such, we may want to build something there at some point in time. Not me, but we may have a competent developer. I mean, I don't know, you might want a sandwich shop there. You might want a soccer shop there. I really don't know, but we've left enough land in between and can expand the parking lot to have that type of growth down the road.
I love the idea of a splash pad there. I wonder if you would be able to, you know, the splash pads we have in town get an enormous amount of use in the summer. Though the way they were designed, the water basically gets dumped in the drain. Mm-hmm. I know splash pads in other places, folks have been able to capture the water runoff from the splash pad and use it for irrigation. Seems like it may be an opportunity there, depending on how they're designed. But I know that is certainly a thing that is done elsewhere, and you got a lot of ground to irrigate out there in the middle of a hot summer.
We do. You know, the irrigation system's in place right now. Took a little hit a couple weeks ago with the weather, but that's a great idea. I appreciate that. Ken Corbin wrote all that down. I know he did. So we appreciate that. Any other questions? Landscaping, we have a budget right now of about $250,000 for landscaping. We'd love to do more. I hesitate to cut that budget any because, you know, it's kind of a wheat field out there. So, and we want it to be very nice and warm as we can make it for our visitors to our community.
Are you doing a tree line on any edge as a windbreak or anything to that effect?
You know, we actually had a tree line drawn, and this is a different drawing, but we had it between the parking lots Well, where those three are, we actually, there's another drawing that has it going all the way up east to west. And really maybe not a tree, not trees, but Burford hollies, and bring in 6-footers, things that are really hardy and will stand the test of time and are evergreen. And I don't know if you know that species, but those things will get they can get 15, 20 feet tall, and you can't kill them.
Yeah.
And they're real prickly on the end. And I hate to, it's kind of not a bad security measure too, So we do plan a 6-foot chain link fence around the perimeter with those gates that you see drawn in. But yeah, we have a landscape architect, a good friend of mine in Tulsa, who's working on those sort of particulars.
That's great.
Mark, I have to say, thank you to your family for changing the entire complexion of this community over the years. This added to the ballpark is unbelievable for our town. And thank you so much. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. It's first class, like everything that your family does. And you get a lot of accolades, but not enough, because this is just so exciting. I drive by this every day on my way to work, and it's been neat to watch it develop. And I saw when the grass started growing out there last year when they put it in. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, it really is. And, the thing that I didn't understand is how important it is to treat this grass. This grass is all, and so there are special, there's a couple of things about this that I think are important for the city council to know, is that these fields are much like a golf course. You can't just run a regular mower out there and mow them every six days and, it be done. It requires a daily maintenance program, a lot of treatments to it, and special mowers and special equipment to take care of it. So going back to the David Allen Ballpark and the model here, it's public-private partnership, whereas the city will own the assets and the facility. Enid Sports Association, the nonprofit, will run the operation. Enid Sports Association will be responsible for the maintenance of the facility, the city of Enid being responsible for the utilities and some of that, the other types of maintenance upkeep. It's worked so well at the David Ballpark. I've no doubt that the same won't be true here. I did neglect to talk about the lights, and I want to mention this before I finish. The lights are a very expensive proposition. We are putting in the transformers and all the wiring underneath to be able to light the entire complex, much like that. And I think we want to do that at the end of the day. We haven't even drawn in lights for the parking lot. And so, again, just things to think about. But those lights are $1 million that you're looking at. And, and there's so much here that we're raising. And so then you have to put priorities down. And right now, it could be that we only put lights on the championship field and none of those other lights exist. We wait for a donor or some other funding in order to put those lights in place. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm giving you kind of here's where we are at this point in time.
Has OG&E contributed at all to that part of it? Has OG&E contributed at all to the project?
No, OG&E has not contributed anything to the facility. I don't know that we've actually asked either.
I know they participated in other projects with lighting and with some of that cost.
Yeah. Mike Stanky and Nicole Winfield are heading up those sort of fundraising projects. I saw Mike here earlier. Yeah, see, he's gotten tired of me talking. I talked all noon. So anyway, they have been going to a lot of the businesses here around town, commercial, Lowe's, I know is a big one that they've been talking to, and I'll remind them to go talk to OG&E.
They've been a good community partner with some of these projects. in the
Well,
past.
they've definitely been out on site. They know what's going on. So, and they were a really good partner with us at Advanced Food Company. We used a little bit of electricity.
A little bit.
Mark, where are you in the fundraising? And if you need to phase some things in, such as you described the lighting possibly being, toward the end, are there other things that you would phase in toward the end of the project, kind of depending on funding?
Yeah. So where we are is we think, like I said before, we think we're at a $10.5 million number right now. And honestly, that there's a big number in there depending upon the soil compression and what we need to do for the clubhouse. And that's $1 million number. It's between 0 and $1 million. And we don't know until we have the studies back that say, okay, you need to compact this to X, or hey, you're good to go. We'd love to hear that. If, hey, we're good to go, gives us $1 million essentially. So that number's been between $9.5 and $10.5 million. Everything you have seen here right now, with that one big caveat. We have right now in the kitty committed $8 million. Okay. So we're $1.5 million away, and I feel pretty good about that because we haven't really gone to the community at large. We've done a lot of one-on-one meetings, really headed up by Paul. Paul calls people and we sit down and we talk and in fact, we did that at 4:00 today on the way here. And so I think we can get there, but are we going to have to get to 10.5? And are we going to have to get to 11? Okay. We'll know a lot more in another 60 days. Okay. Part 2 of the question is phasing. We'd rather not phase. Phasing just means it's going to cost more money. If we can do all the lights at one time, we're going to be better off financially. So there are really no other phases other than a general expansion to the west, which I've talked to Greg Schamberg about at the YMCA, about this facility being an extension with the YMCA and the YMCA possibly needing some other assets to run programs. And so that would be a second story on the clubhouse, could be a second phase. But for the most part, we're good to go here. Yeah, Jerry. Oh, I thought you.
We're going to have plenty of water for you. They'll have plenty of water for you.
Water?
Yeah, you're going to need it for those fields.
Well, yeah, we are. Like I said, you ought to go out there and walk it sometime. You can put 5 baseball stadiums in that thing, I think. So,
Mark, you and the McLaughlin family have some excellent experience with soccer, particularly in the Oklahoma City area. Do you have another facility or organization that you've used as kind of a model for operating, is for setting priorities on who uses what when for the logistics of just the operations through the course of the year?
Yeah, Jeff, as you know, on the baseball field, we've had to deal with that issue a little bit in terms of not so much community, but different conflicts like, the Oklahoma State baseball championships in one year, things like that. I think this is going to be a lot more challenging. Seth Jenkins is heading up the operational committee here in Enid, and he has many members of Enid, the Enid community on his team. And they, including the Enid Soccer Club, talking to NOC, Enid High School, all these competing factors. And I think we'll just have to sit down with all of them and figure out the best way to meet their needs. I don't know that there's a model. Tim McLaughlin runs the Oklahoma City Energy, and they do have that, but it's not exactly the same that you would have here in Enid. And because every situation needs differently. We'll work that out. I mean, there are other questions. Gate control. If we're going to, are we going to charge to come in here? How are we going to charge? I mean, you've got to have multiple entrances, so there are still some questions that I think we'll need to vet out. But I can promise you this, that the Allens will not lose sight of the three reasons that we're doing this project: civic pride for Enid, youth development, safe place for youth to be, and economic driver for the city of Enid. Those three principles will drive all the decisions.
Thank you, Mark. I really admire the approach and the methodical process you've gone through to do this, and the incredible donation that your families have made, and then being a catalyst for this being a first-class community facility that I think will carry out those missions that you described. Bless you for doing this.
Well, we're excited to do it. Again, as you've heard my dad say over and over in many forums here in Enid, we couldn't have done Advanced Food Company without the city of Enid and the community of Enid. And we feel like the least we can do to say thank you. So we're proud to do it.
Also, thank you for the work you did on the east side of town with the soccer field at Longfellow. I'm really deeply thrilled to see that. It's getting used all the time. I drive past it 3 or 4 times a day, and it's a huge improvement to my neck of the woods, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, we were really happy to do that, and because it was necessary and needed.
Yes.
And so, yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that you see that is working out well.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep. He always tells me what I did wrong.
I just want to add something that's very interesting to me. I spent the last 2 days visiting every hotel to see how we could hook up with the hotels. And what just floored me was how excited every single hotel was about this thing coming up. And having been associated with the baseball tournaments like junior college, those junior college people like Enid. They like Enid better than, because they're a big fish in a small pond. They don't want to go to Kansas City because they don't, nobody knows them up there. And I hope I live long enough to see that tournament here all the time, because there's going to be way more people come to Enid through these soccer tournaments. And it's not only the soccer tournaments, but there's flag football and there's lacrosse coming up, and there's something that can be done there all year round. And so I'm just excited to see a bunch of, and somewhere along the line, you got to have income. And we got to bring these people in so that Enid has some income. And I'm hoping that that'll be great. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Rennie Turner. I'm the owner of Green Spring Solutions. It's funny. I checked in my hotel an hour ago, and they said, yes, Paul was just here. So I think that he's already made the pitch. I did want to respond to that comment about OG&E. We are right now, you probably noticed there's a big, beautiful sign out there. And we're hoping to get some a light there the next week or so. And we will have that conversation with them, at least letting them know more about the project. Kellett Field, Another recent construction was able to get an energy credit. And I'm being told that, you know, there is a time limit, but we may have up to $100,000 to $200,000 in energy credit that will be available if we get this thing going. So from a timing standpoint, yes, the lights are later, but they're important. And if you don't think they're important, you talk to any soccer participant and they'll tell you they have to happen.
Yep.
I live on the East Coast. I live close to the Virginia Beach. Then I do Baltimore, the land of the blue crab, I should say. I do have a special affection for this project. I've been doing business in Oklahoma now 20 years, and I have almost 20 projects that I've been a part of in Oklahoma and Texas. If you've been, part of my business is in the casino industry. So if you've been in WinStar, I've done about 2/3 of the projects at WinStar. Hopefully you've had good results there. In Oklahoma, this particular type of building category is called tension fabric. And it's an emerging new technology that you see a lot. If you see some of the new stadiums, such as the Los Angeles Rams, the Las Vegas Raiders, this particular technology offers values in energy consumption, in speed of construction. And we built the Oklahoma Tennis Center in 2016. It was a national award winner in 2016 and 2017. And, you know, this is my third project working with the Allen Foundation. And what I love about it, nothing but quality results. And that I'm happy to be part of it. I grew up in a small town of 50,000. So I feel right at home here. I'm here so often now, my wife's beginning to question why I'm here so much. But this project, I will tell you this, one of the exciting things for me in 20 years is I can do a project like this. I can go back 10 years later and it's amazing what you see. Project of this magnitude anywhere is comparable to what you'd find at an Olympic training facility. I was doing some quick calculations when I was sitting back here just to help you perhaps understand better magnitude what this end result can mean for you. In a single day with 7 fields, you can put up to 2,400 people on the field, times whatever number of parents and spectators you think are going to be there. And it's an amazing thing to see, and it will happen. In 2006, I did a project, the first of a few for the New England Patriot football team, and they had 4 fields. And 3 years later, that became an Olympic training facility. And we have a battle on the East Coast now between all the grass that's available for lacrosse, women's soccer, soccer of all sorts. And the facility that you will have at completion here will be on par with anything that I've done on the East Coast. I wish I had a family like the Allens that I could work with more on the East Coast because so much gets done. So I think the other thing I wanted to mention is that, and I said starting the project, is I wanted to involve and be part of as much of the community as possible. There are at least 6 different subgroups that I work with right now, including a group of soccer experts here in Enid. And we all share information. We all share ideas. And I take that and I try to build into the best value that we can get in the project. I really feel that the end result that we're going to get out of this project, I'll tell you, it's going to be something you can't imagine. The economic impact is going to be fantastic for you. And I'll be here for plenty of visits when it's over. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I have a question. Mark, what's the timetable?
Okay. Here is what we would like to do. I preface that. This is what we'd like to do. We would like to have the drawings completed in May. He's drawn. We would then like to have the bids available to go out in June, 1st of June. And that would be for the selection of construction manager. Randy will work with that. And so we would like to have that construction manager selected by the mid to end of June, shovel in the ground, July 1, 2021, and a completion of September 1st, 2022. That's what we would like to do. Now, Jerry, I'm glad you brought that up because your funding and the work that you are doing and your engineers have to work very close in concert with Ken and his engineers so that we don't waste time and money. And so, you know, Gerald's been and Scott have been terrific in helping us maintain that partnership and moving forward. And I think it's going to be vital if we want to open September of 2022. And that day, coincidentally, would be the first of school. So that's what we'd like to do. But as you know, with projects, a lot of things could get in the way. So that's what we're shooting for. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's just me. There was one other thing. Nope. I think that's it.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We'll stand adjourned and reconvene at 6:30.